Hey guys, Jeremy from Lucky Hat Outdoors, and today I'm showing off my two pieces of really high quality camping gear. And the first is my Big Agnes QCore SL insulated sleeping mat, and the second is my REI Half Dome 2 Plus tent. So several years ago I invested in a sleeping mat and was very disappointed. I got a closeout deal on a cheaper model, and it was small, it was uncomfortable, and it didn't insulate real well. And I got very frustrated. And I was a member of the REI co-op. And guys, if they have an REI in your state, you should join the co-op. It is well worth it. They have massive discounts on items for members throughout the year. And they not only had a sale on the Big Agnes sleeping mat, but they also had a discount on top for members. So I managed to get this one for about 30 or 40% off, which is kind of a big deal because this is a $200 sleeping mat. I went with the extra large, the SL size, which gives me 25, it's about 25 inches wide, 78 inches long, so it's plenty of space for me to lay on. It's actually a lot bigger than I am, so I don't, if I roll over or move around at night, I don't have to worry about running out of sleeping mats. And I went ahead and got the insulated one, and this has an R value of 5, because again, I'd had a cheaper one, and it just didn't work in conditions I needed to. Now, according to their website, it packs down to about 1 pound, 1 ounce, even in this size, and it basically fits in this packing sack. I'm sure John could get it smaller, but I'm not good at rolling things. So I just basically cram it in here. And one of the things I just discovered is it comes with a repair kit. I didn't know that because the repair kit is built in the bottom of the stuff sack. So if you're the kind of person like John who doesn't use these stuff sacks, Big Agnes hides a repair kit in there for you. I've had it out on 2 or 3 different trips. One of our Grand Isle trips last year and a couple of hunting trips earlier in the fall. No real extreme temperatures, but it's been real comfortable as a sleeping mat. I haven't taken it out in super cold weather, so I can't vouch for the insulation, but they say it's good down to 32 degrees. And so I was hard up, and I decided to heck with it, let's just get a quality tent. And I went out and got the Half Dome 2 Plus. Super well reviewed online, and super good piece of gear. And again, I had a little bit of a discount, so I got a little money off. They run about $220 to start in the 2 Plus. I'm going to have to pick up my phone to give you the stats. So they run about $220 in the 2 Plus, and they advertise it as weighing 5 pounds 1 ounce trail weight, which I'm not sure what that means. It's 96 by 56 on the floor, and I'll set it up here and show you. And the cool thing is, with this system, if you buy the footprint, you can use the footprint and the rainfly as kind of a somewhat primitive shelter, and that'll bust the weight down to 3 pounds. And I'm seriously considering on an upcoming camping trip of just using the footprint and the fly and my mosquito net and seeing how that goes. It comes with, it says, it advertises as coming with 3 poles, but I'll show you in a little bit that it's different. The pole setup is really nice. The one change I made is I got rid of the original tie downs and replaced them with Night Eyes tie downs because I like the visibility and I like the way these just quickly zip down. So I add also, because I was replacing items, I added a few higher quality MHR tent stakes. But it does come with good solid aluminum stakes. It's a lot better than the cheap bendy ones. And it also comes with a splint in case you break a rod. And another aftermarket item that I purchased is sand and snow stakes, because we were doing a lot of beach camping in Grand Isle. So I bought multiples of these for use on the beaches, and maybe eventually, I doubt it, in snow. My only real complaint with the tent as far as how it comes is because you have to buy a footprint separately. I'm not super happy with these companies. I know they make lightweight gear and I know the reason they do it, but I'm not super happy with these companies that make a tent with an easy to rip floor that almost demands a footprint, and then they charge you an extra 20 bucks for a separate footprint that's somewhere else. I don't understand why they can't just make me pay $240 for the tent and throw the footprint in, but that's neither here nor there. I think a footprint's essential, so I went ahead and got that as well. So what we're going to do is I'm going to take this outside and we're going to find a spot and we'll set it up and we'll walk you through how I set it up, and I'll show off the interior, and I might even inflate the mat and let you see that. And then we'll take it to the field and I'll show it to you in a later video for a camping trip that we have coming up. Alright, so I went ahead and unpacked everything, and the first step for setting it up is laying out the footprint. And again, this is just there's nothing wrong with the footprint, there's nothing wrong with the price they charge for it. I just don't understand why you make a tent that requires it and then sell it separately. It is what it is. I grabbed it the day I picked up the tent. So we'll go ahead and lay that out. And we're going to take the tent and just position that on top. And they've changed the design of these. An older design used to have different instructions, and they had different color-coded tabs that you had to match up, and REI changed the design to the newer one where everything is basically the same. Now at the foot of the footprint and the tent itself, these little grommets, and at the base of the pole are the little metal nipples. And what they'll do is they'll just fit into those grommets. And the poles are one of my favorite things about this tent. I've never had a good quality tent. And they advertise them as 3 separate ones, but it's really one system of poles. And they seem to be real high quality aluminum. And I noticed that as soon as you take them out, they almost want to go together, to where they will just start attaching themselves as you go. It's really cool when you're unfolding them. A little bit of a pain when you're trying to fold them back up. But they're really light for how many of them there are. And I don't know, I think they're cool. I don't know enough about high-end tents. They're neat. So once we have that laid out, we're just going to put the little metal nipple at the foot of the pole into the grommet of the tent, and then through the grommet of the footprint. And once that's done, we just had the clips that we will attach on the way up. John and I were talking a little bit off camera about how much nicer dome tents are now that they're doing just these clips, because it's so much easier than routing the poles through those sleeves. You don't worry about breaking anything. It's just simpler when you're losing light or you're tired or drunk. And once we get to this point, and you can see it better on the other side, but there's more grommets on the outside of the tent for this crossbar. So we'll take this grommet, and there's the tent is basically set up. So the rainfly, fortunately, is pretty forgiving. As it basically is identical. So as long as you have the REI logos facing outward, then you won't have any issues putting this up. And again, you have the grommet, and I just lift it, slide it under. And underneath, along the seam, is Velcro, which you can attach, which I attach to the poles further up. And then again, on the rainfly, you have a grommet that you just pair up with the outside of this pole. One of the things I like, and one of the things John commented on, is the vents have little Velcro props, so you can prop them open to let a little airflow in. And now we're just going to cinch it a little bit tighter. And the tent stakes go through paracord loops on the bottom of the tent. And once those are staked down, the base of the rainfly, to create your vestibule, they have an adjustable system that you can stake down. And this can actually be tensioned and loosened based on your needs. And then I'm going to roll the door. Now in these conditions, I probably wouldn't guy line things out. You know, the guy lines really came in handy on the beach where there was a lot of wind. So for demonstration purposes, I'm gonna go ahead and do it. It's not something I do every time. So I replaced the guide lines for the tent with the night eyes. And big reason is they're lighter, they're better quality than the material that came with it, and also they're reflective. I hate stumbling and staggering around at night and ending up tripping over my guy lines. And these things are bright. I might get a chance when we get this tent out in the field to show you. And the downside is, I don't particularly remember how they go, so y'all bear with me for a second. So alright, so they have these loops sewn on here for guidelines. I went ahead and tied an end-of-line bowline on the end of each of these to make another loop. And really, what I do I just take my extra stakes that I put in, I stake them out at whatever distance away I want them to be, and then I just cinch it down. And use their little provided S-binder clip thing, which apparently I've also forgotten how to use. And what I do is I go to all four corners and just guy them out diagonally to the corners. There's multiple different ways. I mean, if you were in the middle of, well, if you were in a place where you needed too much if you were in a place where you needed too much guy lines, I don't think I would recommend this tent. You know, in the Arctic or somewhere with the windstorms. On the beach in Grand Isle at 20-30 mile per hour winds, 4 guy lines on each corner, kept it pretty solid. There was no ripping and tearing, and it didn't beat me to death inside of it. You know, sometimes the cheap tents in the wind, they'll start blowing up against you and it's like getting punched. So that was not an issue with this in 30+ mile per hour winds. So there you have it. The REI Half Dome 2 setup. Pretty simple with one person, and considering I haven't taken this out and set it up in over a year, I think pretty quick. Alright guys, so inside the Half Dome 2, as you can tell, I'm 5'9" and way too many pounds. And I've got a fair amount of headroom sitting in the center. Hopefully you can see all the way around me. You have stuff sacks here and here where you can place small lighter gear. There's positions here in these 4 corners where they will sell an aftermarket mesh gear loft that you can click in here. And one of my favorites is, and I'm not sure if you can see this, but there's a place here where you can hang your lantern, where my little cheap lantern goes. Super happy with the way this thing works, you know. The doors are easy to get in and out of. You have a good size vestibule area here. For the doors, they actually have a stuff pouch, so you can unzip them and stuff them all up here. And that's really it for the interior. The 2 Plus, I'm not sure how much bigger the 2 Plus is, but it is appreciably bigger than my old 2-person tent. And with one guy, with just myself, even with my extra large pad, this is crazy nice. And up until my son gets to be my size, for the 2 of us, this is more than enough space. I'm not sure how I would feel about my son, my wife, and my dog. We'll probably have to upgrade on that, but for now, for just me and for me and my son, this tent is plenty. And we're going to take it to the field, and we're probably going to do a setup with it with just the Rainfly and the footprint, and try the ultralight setup in the future. I know it's pricey. It's a lot pricier than other gear that we've reviewed so far, but man, I really like this tent. I've enjoyed it for the past year, and I wish I had time to use it a little bit more.
John from Lucky Hat Outdoors. If you like our videos, please subscribe to our channel, and also remember to like us on Instagram and Facebook.